are watching the meeting with the professional today from the Global HR Laboratory, and I would like to welcome here Mr. Tomas Chamorro-Premuzic. Good morning. Mr. Premuzic is internationally recognized psychologist, a professor of UCL, and also chief of innovation in Hogan assessments. I would like to ask you, today you are discussing the topic on how to target future talents. Can you say us, who exactly is our future talent? Is it always young, talented people?
For sure we know that they are young because in some places 70% of the workforce in 20 years will consist of millennials, Gen Y, people who were born between the 80s and 2000. So they are young. The main challenge for HR practitioners is to take people who are very good students, top graduates from the universities who have good academic expertise, but how can you develop leadership skills in them? How can you ensure that they have good judgment, emotional intelligence, integrity? And that's a big challenge for HR professionals and practitioners. It all starts with having a proper assessment. If you can assess these things and diagnose problems, you can manage it later on.
Okay. And what do you think? Which tools should we use in order to attract those talents?
I think when it comes to choosing tools, I'm a little bit biased because the tools we design, I think, at Hogan are the best. Perhaps I can say this quite objectively because they're the only tools that are based on independent scientific research and that actually follow a thorough theoretical model. It's not just important to use good tools to assess talent competencies, but you also need to know what to assess, and we can answer those two questions. That's why many of our competitors even use our own tools. I think we focus on three major aspects of personality that need to be assessed in future leaders. Your bright side, what are your competencies that can help you manage teams? Your dark side, what are your potential derailers, your toxic assets, things that might help you advance your career, but at some point they will make you self-destruct or destroy others. And finally, your insight, your values, your drivers, which will determine culture fit, whether you are happy and engaged in a company or job.
What do you think? Is there any difference among motivation among young people or young generation, as you were defining them, and among other generations, let's say more skilled maybe and more experienced?
There's very clear data on this by our own research group and my colleagues that the main difference between millennials and previous generations is that there is now a mismatch, a gap between people's aspirations and their work ethic. In other words, there has been an inflation of aspirations. Lots of young people want to be the next Steve Jobs, Richard Branson, Elon Musk, Marissa Mayer, but work ethic has either stayed the same or gone down. So when you have incredible, unrealistic aspirations, but not the work ethic to back it up, in other words, you want to be great without putting the hours and the sacrifice to achieve that, there is a problem, and that's a big problem for managers and HR practitioners to manage now.
Okay. What do you think about young generation? Do you think that they will rapidly transform the future and your job?
Those who are capable of dealing with rejection, those who are more coachable and who understand that they are not as great as their parents may have told them, will transform the world of work. We need to develop those people and coach them. But there are two very interesting potential benefits that millennials can bring to the world of management. One is that they are more open-minded, so they're lower in tradition and therefore not as rigid, and potentially this can have a benefit or beneficial impact vis-a-vis diversity. Young people are less sexist, less prejudiced, and they're more open to diversity and more informal. And the second one is their higher kind of need for disruption and innovation. So they're more likely to want to do entrepreneurial things.
What do you think about the main challenges for HR in the future in the talent development?
So the main charge is still quite dull and boring, which is to persuade organizations, key stakeholders, CFOs, CEOs, COOs, that HR is a fundamental function of companies. It's incredible that most companies they have now understood that most of their problems have to do with people. There are people problems, but they don't understand that the solutions will come from HR. And I think for that to happen, we need to separate between the more legalistic, boring, process, dry HR processes that relate to compensation, employment law, and kind of even like performance appraisal, and the more creative side of talent management. So if HR becomes a more creative form of people analytics and talent management, it has the solution to most of the problems organizations have.
Okay. Toma, thank you very much for the nice discussion. It was quite impressive, your knowledge for me, hopefully also for our colleague. Thank you.